Hi, this is Yvon Prehn from Effective Church Communications, and I would like to talk to you about typography in church bulletins. And I'm going to show you how small changes can make your bulletin easier to follow during the church service. Now, here I have mocked up just part of what would be in a church bulletin. A short, condensed order of service. This is simply for illustration purposes. I'm not saying this is exactly how something needs to be laid out, but this is something that you would see in a lot of church bulletins where you have your different sections, and this is just fine. There's nothing wrong with it. However, let me show you the changes that I made, and then after I show them to you, I will backtrack and tell you why I made them. Okay, here we have the original bulletin, and now here we have one with just slight modifications made. And I think you can see just at a glance how much easier this one is to follow. You have very clear headers. It's really easy to skim through, see exactly where you are. You can tell what works under each one of them. It's very clear between what the leader says, the italics for the people. Just very, very simple, very easy to follow. Now, what changes did I actually make? Well, first of all, what I did is I chose for the typeface Arial. This is a very clean, clear sans serif typeface. Now, this typeface not only has a contemporary look, but a number of studies have shown that as people age and it's harder for people to see the serifs and some of the fancier typefaces, this is just a really good typeface for clear legibility, and so it works well, just very, very easy to read. Next, one of the biggest changes that I made was to increase the section headers in size and make them bold, and then, even more important, to move them out to the left-hand margin instead of being centered. Let me just quickly go back to the previous slide. As you can see, when things are centered, for some reason we automatically do that kind of thing. That goes back to typewriter days when all people had was centering to make something stand out. But what this does is it's actually very hard to pick out the different section headers from the rest of the text. Your eyes jumping back and forth, you really don't know what to look at. But when you go to where they're on the outside margin, as you can see here, it's very, very easy to skim through. You know exactly where you're at. And then the content below the headers is just reduced in size. And then if we need variations as between what the leader says, what the people say, we both have bold and then italic to make the differences stand out. Now, some people might prefer to change the typeface, and that's just fine. Here is a church bulletin that is done in Times New Roman, and that's, if you like that, that's great. It works out real well. Here, however, though, is one where somebody might think, oh, I want a fancier typeface. This is done in brush script, which is one that I unfortunately see numerous times in bulletins, and this just doesn't work very well. As you can tell, it really is hard to read. These script typefaces were not designed for reading. Also, too, this type of typeface, you should never use all caps to spell out words. It just wasn't designed for that, and see how it all kind of mushes together, and it just really doesn't look very good. So if you want to change the typeface, something traditional like Times New Roman is just fine, but please do not use a fancy one, something like brush script. It doesn't make it look fancy. It doesn't make it look more formal or whatever. It just makes it hard to read. So in summary, we have our previous bulletin laid out how many are just the text, all the same sizes, headings centered, with very simple changes, making the headings larger, putting them on the outside margin, indenting the copy below them, and with that, you have a much easier to read bulletin just by small changes that you made in the typography. For lots more on this and all sorts of training in church communications, just go to www.effectivechurchcom.com, and may the Lord give you grace and peace and joy as you serve Him today in church communications.